Okay, it is now 6:30. I hope everybody can hear me. I have a big bump in the toe. So anyways, I want to welcome you to our community center here for this meeting. As you all know, this meeting has to do with water. And we're looking at possibly getting water down in the city here, Highway 13 consolidation. Everything else is we're going to share with you the importance of it for the city to have consolidated water. So, my name is Bob Chris. For those who don't know me or never met me or never came and attended the meeting, I am the mayor of Kimberling City. So welcome. I really appreciate this. There's almost as many people here that comes to our city meetings. I wish. So, anyways, all right, the speaker tonight is going to be Dawn Gardner. She's our city administrator. Dawn's been with us 2 years this month. And I think she's doing a fantastic job. And she's working hard at this consolidation idea, and I've been supporting it, and I think it's important. I've lived in Kimberling City for 44 years, and I know there's lots of issues, but quite a bit of stuff being here as long as I've been. I've been mayor since 2014, and before that I was an alderman from 2012 to 2014. So I've been affiliated with the city, and so I appreciate the support that I give to the citizens and from the people that I'm working with, because I have a very strong team, and I appreciate every single one of them, because they're the ones who help me look good. So, anyways, Dawn Gardner. Well.
Thanks. So I don't have a big mouth or a loud voice, so I'm going to try to talk loud, and if you can't hear me, just raise your hand, and I will do my best to talk louder. We need a couple more chairs back there.
Are
you sure?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're fine with it.
Never mind. Okay, so first, as Mayor said, thank you all for coming. Thank you. This is a really important issue for our city. I just want to be upfront. This meeting is for informational purposes only for the future of water and the direction we want to go. We don't want to get into bashing current water districts. If you want to talk about issues, that's totally fine as well, but I might not have the answers because I'm not representing any water districts. So I just want to keep that in mind. I want to keep this meeting informational. I want you to ask questions, and if I don't have an answer, I will definitely be able to get you an answer eventually. So, second thing is technical difficulties. I'm already off my game because we do not have TVs that are working with our computers right now, so I don't have my PowerPoint to flip through, and I've got to go off of this handout. So, I printed out approximately 40 handouts, so you can go along with me. I know there's more than 40 people here, so if you don't have a handout and need one, maybe somebody can share who's next, and then raise your hand if you have one you don't need and somebody else can have it. But it's a really good presentation, so you do. All right, so here we go. So we have approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll say 7 different water districts. I'm not counting the Kimberling Inn, and I'm not counting Port of Kimberling. When I'm talking about different water districts, I'm talking about we have Missouri American in the city, we have Ozarks Clean Water here in the city, we have Oak Shadow subdivision, they are on their own water system. We have PWSD number 1, they are our largest water district in the city. We have Schooner Bay, everybody knows where Schooner Bay Landing is, they are on their own water system. And then I already said Missouri American Water has 2 separate subdivisions in Kimberling City. So, and you really can't see this page because I've got the cities not having jurisdiction over water in the city over the map. But this map was intended to show you how many residents are in each water district. For example, PWSD, like I said, they are our largest water district. They have approximately 855 customers. Schooner Bay is our second largest, and they have Missouri American's the second largest, and they have approximately 150 to 200 customers. And then we have Schooner Bay Landing they have 175, and then it goes on from there. So, again, the point I'm trying to make here is we work with several different water districts, and the city does not have any jurisdiction over water in the city. I just want to make it clear, the city does not want to have jurisdiction. We do not want to own the water.
Can you clarify water district? Is that sewer and water combined?
It is just water. The city does own the sewer system. That is our only utility that the city operates. So water is totally separate from sewer. Okay, but our goal is we want to get to a position in the city where we have one water district that can help the city thrive, that can provide fire protection for our citizens and our businesses, and that can provide infrastructure as we grow as a city. So where are we now? And if you came to the meeting in July, you're going to get some of the same information, so it's a repeat. Yes?
Does GWS, the District 1, do they also operate outside city limits?
I don't believe they do. It is all inside the city limits. Okay, so let's talk about the city's comprehensive plan. This comprehensive plan was done in 2018, and it's the guiding document for the city as we grow and as we improve. It is a long-term strategic plan. It outlines the vision for the future. It guides our growth and development. It is a framework for achieving the vision that is outlined in the plan. But most importantly, a comprehensive plan is developed with citizen input. It is not done just by the city government. There are public meetings and input is gathered, and the input is what makes up the comprehensive plan. So what does that have to do with water? Well, the comprehensive plan has a whole section on infrastructure. Part of that infrastructure, come on in, is water consolidation and fire protection. In our comprehensive plan, it states, currently the water provided to Kimberling City is separate privatized water providers. This separation of water providers does not allow for consistent development of water lines and fire flow service. The consolidation of water service providers needs to occur in order to provide consistency in the water utilities provided to citizens and business. With consolidation, the expansion and change of water infrastructure becomes less challenging, more consistent, and allows business growth to occur. I would also like to add that it allows housing developments to occur. So, as you can see, our comprehensive plan, since 2018 when it was developed, it was recognizing that our city needs water consolidation for consistency across the community and for it to be less challenging for growth to occur. So, what is our current situation in the city? Let's talk about fire flow. On occasion, more than one occasion, the Stone County Fire Chief has approached the city asking, begging us to get fire protection in the city. They currently fight large fires by hauling in water. There is currently no fire protection for existing residential or businesses in Kimberling City. That's within every water district here. Also, they need trunk lines on Highway 13 and south for current and future business. The trunk lines on Highway 13 are an important need in this city for development and for growth, and to also start the consolidation process, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. There are issues with supplying water to development. Water cannot be supplied to large developments. Will give you an example. The old golf course is available, and there is a developer that would like to develop housing. However, because of the current situation in that water district, they can't provide water, they can't supply water to the amount of lots that this housing development wants to develop. They can supply water to, I think, 4 to 6 houses. But when you are looking at a large development and have that much land, you have to be able to develop the whole thing for it to be cost effective. So they do have an option of building a well. If the water district allows it, then if the city allows it, and if DNR approves. However, when you build a well for that large of a development, you're talking about an extra $500,000 to possibly $1 million, which will then be passed on to the cost of the house for the buyer, and we all know what housing costs are right now. And this city needs more affordable housing. When I'm talking affordable housing now is $250,000 or less. That wasn't affordable when I was a first-time home buyer, but now that is. So that is a desperate need, not only for Kimberling City, but Stone County in general is affordable housing. So you can't develop an affordable housing subdivision with having to build your own well. Getting ahead of myself. All right. Also, what current situation is development is stagnant for our city. The city did a citizen survey in May earlier this year. I don't know if any of y'all participated in that survey, but we received approximately 391 responses, and citizens are asking for more development. They're not asking for a Branson. They're asking for, give us some more retail, give us just places to shop for, give us additional restaurants. We have a lot of restaurants, but I guess they're wanting additional restaurants. And give us some more recreation opportunities. So for development to happen in Kimberling City, our biggest challenge is our water infrastructure. We have had developers come in to look at, let's talk about redeveloping the Kimberling City, or the Kimberling Shopping Center. To redevelop that, I think they're currently in a water district, but to be able to provide fire flow that is required by code now for any business that does over 60% remodeling or any new business, you have to provide sprinklers. Well, you've got to have a water system that will be able to provide the pressure for the sprinklers. So developers are required, if there's already existing water there, they are required to construct storage tanks to be able to put out a fire if their business catches on fire. So that's another very large expense for developers, and they end up walking away. Talked about all that. Okay, so what are current issues with existing systems? We have some districts that are averaging a water loss of 70 to 80%. I would also like to note that all water districts have leaks. I think Turner has like a 5% leak rate. Leaks are normal. But when you get up to the 70 to 80%, that's a big problem. Again, I would also point out that our topography here in Kimberling City is rocky. So we're expected to have some water leaks. But we also have to have the resources to be able to properly address those water leaks within our water districts. We have to have the resources of replacing old infrastructure. If you're following with me on, I would say the slides, but I don't have slides, on the handout, a cost that I got for running 1 mile of polyethylene 8-inch pipe is approximately $1 million a mile. Now that could go up or down depending on where you're installing it. In Kimberling City, you have to go deeper because of all of the rock, so it could go up. And again, replacement pipe has to be installed correctly, not on top of the rock. I would just like to say our infrastructure that we have today is not the fault of anyone in this room, anyone probably in this city. It was installed that way many, many years ago, before we were even incorporated Kimberling City. So the problem isn't new, it's just come to the point where we have got to do something about it. So we can't blame our current water districts. We are just at a point where we have to realize we have to do something different. So we have to, when you go in and replace pipe, it needs to be yes.
Question is, the pipe that they laid in the past, do we have any idea if it's on rock or unripped?
I would say that I can't answer that question. I know that there is a lot of people that have had to expose their pipe for a leak, and it's been on top of the rock. Now, I
I was
don't,
thinking if it's already under the rock, we don't need to worry about rock.
correct. But, and that's something that we are going to, that is a challenge for Kimberling City, even if you go lay new pipe, you're gonna have to dig deeper to get under the rock, to lay it properly, because the rocks are what is poking holes into the pipe that is causing leaks. And it could be I'm not a water expert, I'm not, so if I say something incorrect, somebody that is a water expert can correct me. But I think it's the type of pipe that we're also installing is more susceptible to rock making holes in the pipe. Anybody want to correct me on that?
In many cases, probably in
Yes,
most
and it's
cases,
old.
it's aging infrastructure.
Yes, and because the infrastructure only lasts, the life of the water infrastructure is 10 to 20 years? Okay, anyway, it's old. Our infrastructure is too old, and that is the main fact. Okay, and when you're replacing pipe, we need to start looking at replacing pipe to allow for fire protection. The minimum pipe size that the fire chief has recommended is 8 inch. That is the minimum size pipe that should be in the ground for fire protection.
What is it again?
8 inch. Okay, so where do we go from here? So the reality that we have to face as a city is we have to have a centralized water system for our city to thrive. Again, our development is stagnant, and our goal is to have consolidated water with one existing district. We have several different districts already in Kimberling City, so it doesn't make sense if we're wanting to go with one. If there's one in the community already here, it makes more sense to work with them if they are willing and if they have the resources. As far as what has been happening, we've been working on, since I've been here, we've been working on consolidated water since April. Well, actually, I started talking about it right when I got here, but in developing a plan, I started conversations with 6 water districts back in, I think my first conversation was in July. I've had conversations with PWSD, with Missouri American, Schooner Bay, Oak Shadows, Ozarks Clean Water, and Turner. And when I say conversations, I've just talked to the boards. Schooner Bay, they did have a board meeting where they invited all of their residents, so I did talk to some of the residents, whoever came to that meeting. But the other water districts, I have talked to the boards themselves. They are all open to looking at consolidated water, meaning let's have a conversation. Let's move forward, let's start the conversation. We do have one water district already here in Kimberling City that is interested in helping the city move forward towards that water consolidation. It is Missouri American. They already have 2 subdivisions, approximately 150 to 200 customers here in Kimberling City. They have this, where I'm at now, and Woodland, that area, that is Missouri American, and then Golden Acres, which is in that area. So they, one, would like to partner with the city and get consolidated water. And what does that mean? That means the other water districts will have to If they have boards, they'll have to dissolve, or they will have to be absorbed by Missouri American and turn over their infrastructure to Missouri American. That takes time. This is not a process that is going to be done overnight. This is a multi-year process, but if we don't start, it keeps kicking the can down the road. So, yes.
Re-say what you just said about how do you convert it. We're at the meeting last night with the subcommittee, and they have two options. Okay, one is going to Missouri American, one is putting that in bond. Are you saying altogether this is going to be compelled to consolidate? That's what it sounded like you said.
We are going to work with other water districts to see if they're willing to consolidate.
Okay, that's not compelled. You said they have.
What if they don't? What if they refuse?
I didn't mean to say that they have to, but for one consolidated water system, that is the goal.
They want to do that.
If they want to do that, we can't force anybody to do anything.
Optional block.
Yes.
Thank you.
What would their benefit in consolidating be? If they were gonna give up their business?
The benefit in consolidating is
For them, I'm talking to the people that were actually,
it would be, we will be working on fire protection, fire flow. So there will be, eventually, we will be protected in the city with fire hydrants.
For them.
no, my question
Yeah,
is,
what if somebody
what is the
refused?
benefit to Turner, Oak Shadows, Ozark, Clean Water to consolidate? Okay, so let's say Mid-America's gonna consolidate. Why will they consolidate? What is their benefit?
What is the benefit of the residents in these?
No, not the companies. The water company.
What is the benefit to Missouri American or the benefit to Turner?
The other five. If Mid-America's, let's say.
They're all nonprofit boards. They're not going for a profit.
Oh, okay.
That there is,
All of them are nonprofit.
Correct. Well, Missouri American is not nonprofit.
So
They are
what will they get out of consolidating? What would they get?
the customers.
They don't get any. There isn't any. Okay, that makes sense.
Sorry, I wasn't understanding.
Mid-America might not agree to consolidate with anybody else because they are a money-making business, is that correct?
Mid-American doesn't, they don't have to.
Missouri.
I'm sorry, Missouri American does not have to, no. In conversations with the city, yes, they are willing to. That is what their business is providing water to cities.
No, but are they willing to give up their section if somebody else makes it?
If somebody else,
Did they agree
Say
to that?
District One wants to take it over. Are they
right, if
willing to
PWSD
walk
wants
away?
to, has the resources to take that over, I'm sure they would have that conversation. But
Can I make a quick comment here? None of these water systems are operated by anybody who's a professional. These are all volunteers. Schooner Bay has 172, we're run by a bunch of volunteer owners. So it's not like we're gonna try to take over other water districts. We're barely trying to manage our own.
You'll be happy.
Well, if it happened, we'd take off the burden of us having to maintain our own water lines. It would give us the fire flow issue. We had one of our buildings burned to the ground a number of years ago. And they're piping in water from Branson West now.
or the lake.
Or the lake, but, I mean, so those are the advantages. But all these water districts are, at least to my knowledge, are all made up by owner volunteers. Nobody at Schooner Bay has a background in water, piping or the infrastructure that's required, whereas, Missouri American, they do have that expertise.
So they're a nonprofit organization.
Missouri American is not a nonprofit organization.
They are a for-profit.
Now, what if we go NID, Neighborhood Improvement District through the state with bonds? Is that a different ballgame?
That is a whole different ballgame. Again, when you bond, you're taking on debt. But if you're a water district that has that option, you do have that option.
But isn't it, if a profit organization comes in, they can set the water bill at any level, but if it's under.
That's not true.
That is not true.
Let me answer that. Missouri American, and I haven't got to this on my slide, I have it in here, but actually it is on the page that I'm on. Let me just talk about Missouri American first.
The reason I'm asking this, I was involved, I had chalets out at Swiss Villa,
we want NID to the state. So I'm a little familiar with that because I own property there and I had to pay for it.
Who do you pay to operate your district?
It was the state. Because you could have it one way or another, you could pay the fee up front, or you could have it put on your taxes. And they sold bonds.
Right. That sounds like something that wouldn't be, and I don't know, I'm just speaking, that wouldn't be feasible for an entire city. For a neighborhood, for a small subdivision, sure. But for an entire city, I would have to look into it, but I would
It'd
think
be
that.
worth having the state, I mean, check into the state with that,
Sure.
because the funds are there.
So let me continue on. Again, Missouri American is interested. We've had several conversations in helping the city move forward. They are willing to come to the table with resources and be a true partner with Kimberling City. They do have the resources to help. Now, to get to the concern about raising rates. Currently, 6 of the 7 water districts I've talked about are not regulated by the Public Service Commission. They can raise rates whenever they want, when they want, how they want. Missouri American is governed by the Public Service Commission. They are regulated. They can only raise rates by going to the Public Service Commission and requesting a rate increase. It takes approximately 11 months, a minimum of 11 months to get that. They have to show why they want to raise the rates. Here's the projects that we've done across the state that cost $60 billion. This is the rate increase we feel like we need. And then it has to be approved by the Public Service Commission. There's a whole process where you can have public input. They go to mediation, there's attorneys involved. It's a process. It's nothing like the current water districts that we are in now. Just has to pass it by the board to raise rates. So, no, they can't, and I will also say they cannot raise rates just for Kimberling City, or just for the city of Joplin, or just for the city of Chillicothe. The rates that they set are the same across the whole state, except for St. Louis County. St. Louis County, I don't know why, they have their own rates with Missouri American. But, the rest of the state pays the same. So if Missouri American came in and invested $10 million in Kimberling City, and they needed to go for a rate increase, so it would go to the PSC, and that rate increase, whatever it becomes, is spread across the whole state. You all pay the same rates. Or we all, I live here too. So,
Question. Who, if a private company, like you're proposing here, or you're talking about discussing, if they were to take it over, who regulates what they put in our water?
I would say DNR.
Yeah,
Yeah,
DNR.
DR.
And
The
that's
same as
that's
regulates our
run by
water
who?
companies now.
That's run by who?
The
Department
Department
of
of Natural
Natural
Resources.
State?
It's the same ones that regulate us now.
They do the same thing now.
I hear you about all this upgrading. Will the existing wells handle all the upgrading that you're talking about? Or will they have to drill new wells as well?
And that would be part of the process. They would have to look at the infrastructure and see what needs to be replaced, what needs to be, can be improved. And that is part of this whole process. And like I said, and I want you all to be aware, this is just the beginning stages. We are just giving you information so you can make informed decisions at a later date if we continue to go down this route. So, I will just also go with this. The city is investing in a water consolidation study. We have a city engineer that does our sewer, and Cochran Engineering has given us a proposal to do a water consolidation study. There was one done back in 2010, which didn't go anywhere, and it's way too old to be used. So that was 14 years ago, so we need to do a new one. That goes to the Board of Aldermen for approval on November 5th, and if they approve it, then the engineering firm will start the study, they will look at all of the water districts, they will look at the infrastructure, they will, look at current water rates. They will submit, they will look at the water tower needs, they will look at the fire flow needs, and then they will submit a study showing what consolidation would look like. If all of the districts agree, here's what consolidation would look like. You might need to start with a water tower, and then you might need to start with trunk lines down 13. Or if a district has already said they want to be absorbed by Missouri American, then it might be, well, you need to replace some infrastructure there first, and then look at the water. I mean, that's what this study will show. And when that study is done, it'll take approximately 6 months, maximum is what they're telling me. Then we will have additional conversations with the public so you guys would understand how it will work. If they start down 13, then they might branch off here, they might branch off to Schooner Bay next first, or they might need to branch off at businesses first. It just is going to depend on what the study shows. So I think that that will be more helpful when we get to that point, but these conversations need to start now. So that's why you're here.
Two things, it was an excellent presentation made by Missouri American last night here at the meeting, and they're also doing their own engineering study.
Correct.
In parallel to what you're doing.
Yes.
Secondly, you used the word partner a little while back, partner with the city, what do you mean by partner? What does that mean?
A partnership is, we need to work together for the improvements of what the city needs. So how it's worked where I've been before is, as a city, we would get together with our utility company, and the utility company would say, what needs do you have in the city that you've heard from your residents? What do you need to provide? Are you having additional development and you need to put a new water tank in? These are just numbers. So you work together to figure out the future needs, and you plan those needs. Okay, I can get you some water. Yes. Can you not get her bottled water? So you plan those needs together, and that's how they develop their plan, and they develop and they do this with all the cities that they represent.
So you're not talking financial partnership, you're talking, like joint planning, right?
Right. Yes, we won't own the water system. We won't be operating the water system.
You will have no business.
But you all will be their customers. The city will be their customer, so it's in their best interest to work with the city, because any complaints that go to the PSC get checked out. And you don't want the the PSC is just like an auditor. You don't want them on your case. Sorry, all you auditors out there. Yes, I was there last night.
It starts here in the heart when you're looking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So how do we then get the infrastructure changes we need? So they're gonna come in here, they need to make this many, and they're gonna make the money. This needs to be positive for them. What would stop them from just working on the infrastructure to help with development, but not fix the existing homes that all need?
I think that when you're talking about, I don't think there's going to be a resident versus development type situation. Again, I'll just go off my experience. If a development comes in and needs infrastructure in place, sometimes there's a developer's agreement where the developer will pay up front and they get reimbursed as they make money over time. Missouri American will reimburse them. So the residents will.
You mean a buyout system?
Pardon?
You mean a buyout system that development put in?
Yes, yes, and it becomes Missouri Americans, yes. So as far as residential goes, as far as the city's concerned, residents are who we serve, so we're never going to throw residents under the bus in situations where development comes in. Those are, you just have to balance it.
Well, I know the city can, but.
Missouri American said last night that the residential infrastructure would be a priority.
Okay. That's fine.
Yes.
I just want to comment to everybody, remember, when this infrastructure is done, and we have fire flow in the city, we will have lower homeowners insurance rates. Ding, 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 save us all money. It may cost us a little bit in the interim, maybe, but if we can all lower our insurance premiums, that helps too.
And property value.
And property value go up because the people want to come in.
To piggyback on that really quick, I want people to understand when there is a fire and you do not have fire hydrants, you're almost guaranteed 100%
My
loss.
neighbor's house right next door burnt to the ground.
And last night, there's a business owner who had a fire with businesses and tenants, and their premiums went up from $5,000 to $15,000 a year. I also have an 82-year-old wheelchair-bound father-in-law living in my basement, and if I'm not home with a fire, he's not making it out.
The fire
So,
flow in the end will help
that-
all of us.
yes.
It's not pretty, it's probably gonna cost us some money in the long, the infrastructure hasn't been updated, I wasn't at the meeting last night, but in the end, I think it will be beneficial,
Right.
very beneficial, to all of us.
And, hang on just a second. And it might be, I wouldn't think that every year your bill is going to go up because the corporation doesn't want to go in front of the PSC on an annual basis.
It's about $1 million.
But we also need them to improve
Yes.
our infrastructure.
Correct, so you won't see raises immediately,
Yeah,
but it will have, they will go ahead and invest.
I understand.
And they have to show, like right now, I think Missouri American does have a request for an increase in front of the PSC. But what they are showing the PSC is we've invested this many million here, and it will show all of the projects that they've already done and the projects that they will do if they get the rate increase passed.
If they have to build us a water tower here, that's a lot of money.
It
Gotta
is.
come from somewhere.
And to be honest, we don't know what that's going to look like yet. It might be that the city finds grants for the water tower.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if we do that, then usually there's a, within the grant guideline or the rules is that has to be publicly owned for a certain period of time. But those are things that we would work out with Missouri American as we go through this process.
But the understood is that the city does not want to be in the water business. I understand that.
Absolutely not.
I understand that.
But they're a big company, they got deep pockets, they spread this around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my
They
point.
absorb it in other
Yeah,
areas.
because
They don't pass it all on to us.
currently their rate increase that they have, if whatever they get from the PSC will be spread out through the entire state of Missouri. It won't just be dumped on one area. So it'll be broken down and your increases will be as minimal as possible because they're breaking.
And I think you, oh, hang on just a second.
So I understand there'll be a rate increase, but who's paying for the work to be done? And if it's the taxpayer, what's the tax increase? And will there be votes on it? Because that's gonna be like a mess.
The taxpayer will not be paid for any of the work. It would be Missouri American.
Now,
If they take it over.
if your water district was to do a bond increase, then that bond increase, once they start using that money, they're going to have to come back on their customer to pay for that money they're using. But not Missouri American. Missouri American has the resources to do it now. Like she said, they have to go before the PSE to even think about getting a rate increase, but it would not come directly out of your pocket until that rate increase happened.
And I will say that if a water district does have debt, such as a bond, being absorbed by a corporation is off the table. It's against state statute, so that is another thing to consider.
Which puts the customers in the liability when your water district decides to do a bond and they can't operate and do what they said they would do.
Okay,
So, my understanding from the meeting last night was that Missouri American took over a district down here about 10 years ago, and nothing has been done for fire suppression in 10 years.
Correct.
So, my understanding is that even if they started this, it's gonna be years down the road before this fire suppression even starts. And then secondly, I understand that the city does not wanna be involved in running a water office. But another thing that I have heard is that the city would be interested in getting rid of the sewer and having the water offices take care of the sewer lines.
I don't know where you heard that, but that's.
I just wondered, that's all I needed to know, that's all I needed to know, I just wanted to ask.
No, we have no interest in, anyone taking over the sewer. Our sewer is operating great right now, we have no issues. Also, I'll touch on the fire suppression in the two.
There's fire hydrants out there with bags.
There are fire hydrants, and that is for the future. Now,
But it's been 10 years and they haven't
you
done
are
anything.
correct, that is 150 residents, did they say, 150 to 200 residents
I don't think there was, in that one, I don't think there was that many
in
Total.
Missouri American,
Yeah,
in both of them.
in
Well,
total.
apparently those people don't matter.
And plus they,
No, that is not
plus they
true.
don't have the water supply to do it. You're gonna have to start with a water tower and a new well to be able to push the water flow down the hill. So the information that
But that
and
could
some
have
people are
started 10
receiving.
years
So
ago.
where are they gonna put the well to provide that fire
I don't know,
suppression?
I'm just
Right.
saying that if
So-
people think that water suppression is gonna happen in 6 months. it's
If
not.
you had
No,
attended the
no,
meeting,
we're
if
not
you
saying
attended
it's
the meeting,
gonna
those that did not attend the meeting last night, Missouri American was very clear, this was a multi-year project and would probably encompass up to 10 years to do it. But what was addressed was that right now, we are pulling water from the lake and having to go to Branson West to get water when your house is on fire. If they implemented from the start, one of the main things that they would do is put a trunk line, then we would be able to at least access that fire flow closer to your home to put that fire out. Now, is it gonna happen the very next day, the very next month, maybe even not the next year? But their goal would be, that would be a top priority, and possibly within a few years that would happen.
But what
And if we
tower
would've-
is gonna feed that trunk line?
They have to build one.
And if, yes, none of this is going to happen overnight. This is a multi-year process. Maybe if we would have started planning water consolidation as a city 10 years ago when they did the water consolidation plan, we might have already had fire suppression. But if you don't start planning and you don't start moving forward, we're gonna be in the same spot 10 years from now. Yes.
You're correct.
So with that being said, is there, or will there be like a date or a planning or an estimation, like you can expect this by this time?
That is-
We're giving them
Yes.
that control versus, well, it's been 10 years, we told you it would be a multi-year plan.
As we move along with this and we start the planning, we get the water consolidation plan done. If districts move forward with wanting to be absorbed by Missouri American, they will start looking at the systems. There is a letter of intent to look at the PWSD system. I believe Missouri American has already reviewed the infrastructure. So from that, yes, they can make a plan, but even to dissolve a district is a 2-year process?
No, 12 to 18 months.
12 to 18 month process. But yes, they will be able to develop a plan for this it's gonna take this many years to do fire suppression in this, I mean, they'll be working on it by location.
Well, when you,
Dates.
when PWSD or Scooter Bay, when they sign the contract, the water department that's dissolving, they put that plan in place. There will be benchmarks, anything they want in that contract, fire suppression, benchmarks. Within 2 years, you need to have X amount of percentage of your mains replaced. Within 5 years, you need to have X amount of fire hydrants in. That's all.
And they did say that with that input and that contract, that with the transfer to Missouri American or any third party, it would not necessarily Missouri American, that with that and those guidelines and that input with the transfer, that is regulated by the PSC. So if they don't meet those deadlines,
Okay, so
And what's the
going back to
consequences
this,
if they don't?
the PSC
area
fines.
has waited 10 years and they still don't have anything. What is, like, where is that protection that we
So-
won't be in that same situation?
So I think-
What about the 151 foot residents that already are covered that don't have the fire protection? How did that happen?
Right, that, I'm just, like, what protection is that for us?
That
To say.
That I don't know.
15 years down the road, well, we can't get a tower up because we don't have this and we don't have that.
But that is where, okay, we already have land that, the city has land for a water tower. We would, the water tower, depending on what the water consolidation study says and when it needs to be built, that is what we would be working on with Missouri American. Now, as far as, I don't know why they don't have fire protection yet. When we have a meeting with Missouri American, they'd be able to answer that question. But from what I understand and from working with, utilities in the past, you have dates to reach these milestones. They're in an agreement, like when they go for a dissolution of a water district, projects will be in the agreement that they have to, and they have a timeline, there's milestones. So these questions will be answered eventually, but it's not like we would just give over all of, well, not we, we're not the city. A water district isn't going to give everything over, give over all their assets without knowing what's gonna happen and if I were in charge of a water district, there's no way I would either. You need to have an outcome and a timeline,
And they are regulated by the
And they are
PSC, so if they
regulated, correct.
don't meet those, when they go, they get audited very strictly, so
And
they
they get
will get
fined.
fined.
But then who absorbs the fines of people that
They
pay
do.
on the water
They
bill?
do.
Well, not amount of people's bill.
Out of one, out of
You've missed a whole lot of the
1.7 million.
conversation.
Well, I mean,
And in any kind of,
well, it's-
anything that comes up, the investments are going to go through, are going to go through a rate increase that's going to be absorbed throughout the state. As far as their fines, that's coming out of their own direct pocket, a Missouri American. Just like it would where I work if we had a fine. I work for a big utility company in Springfield.
Yeah, and they're big.
No, they can't put those in your rates. They have to cover those themselves. And let me tell you, the utility company that I work for has gas, water, electric, sewer, and internet. And the last thing they want is $1 million fine. So they're working on the up and up to make sure that they take care of the customers. And they're not gonna do anything to have a fine. Just like, you know, I work in purchasing. We have businesses once in a while, when we put out bids that will protest. We make sure we do things on the up and up so that when there's a protest that happens, that we can justify what we've done, that it was done correctly and legally. So it's not like we're turning this would be turned over to somebody that is just out to rip everybody off. They've been doing this for a very long time. They've had Joplin for 90 years, I think. So,
Over 100.
over 100, could be over 100. So that they, you know, they've been doing this for a very long time. They know what they're doing. They have the resources in place. We don't have currently, like PWSD, we don't even have an operator that can go out and operate the piece of equipment. We don't have a full-time operator. They have multiple full-time operators that can take care of this area once they take it over. So, if that was to happen.
Why is the community that 10 years nothing's happened?
Yeah,
That's
where's
not
the
nothing's
benchmark?
happened. They have
Has
invested,
there been a benchmark that's been missed?
No, you're
I don't know
looking
how
at.
that absorption took place, way before our time.
So,
But I have this question up here that I will get an answer to that. That's why I put this paper down here so I can mark down questions that I can't answer. But I will tell you, they have, in those two water systems, they have invested, I think they said over $800,000 in investments in replacing lines and bringing the lines up to where they should be. So they built a new, a water, not tower, a water, pump station. They built a new pump station, so they have invested. And maybe those things are the things that needed to happen before they could do fire flow. I don't know, but I'll find out. Got it up here. And I will just let you know, I did not want to bring Missouri American in here to answer questions at this time because this is just informational right now. I don't think Missouri American can answer a lot of your questions like what our rate's gonna be or this and that. But we will eventually have a meeting where they will be here when we know more and you can ask any of questions that you would like to ask. I wanted this to be a process. I wanted to talk to citizens first as a city because I think it's important that you get information from the city first. Think about it. Think about questions that you have. And then at our next meeting, I would like to have our next meeting maybe in January. And at that point, our water consolidation study will be underway and we can bring Missouri American in. Maybe they might be further along with fire flow in those two subdivisions. I don't know. But it's a process, a long process. I just want you all to be informed. And that's why we're here right now.
And understand, dissolving a PWSD can only happen by vote. So it would have to go to a vote, and I think it's a 2/3 majority on the vote. So it's not gonna just happen. It's gonna have to go through a process, and I'm sure Missouri American will hold meetings between now and the time that a vote would happen to inform people. So it's not something that the city's gonna control or anything else. It's gotta go to a vote, so.
Yeah,
It's a vote for all people paying water bills. It isn't just the boards. though.
right, so PWSD would have it would be up to the residents of the PWSD. Do you want to dissolve? Has to go to a vote. If the vote is that they don't want to dissolve, then we move on. Missouri
So
American.
that's separate, they can do that in 6 months?
Yes.
Separate from the water consolidation thing you're talking about?
Yeah,
here.
and to be honest with you, we would love to have one consolidated water system. That would be ideal. It might not ever happen, but we're gonna have to move forward with at least getting trunk lines down 13 for business development. Yes.
You were talking about rates. I asked the, water company, yesterday, and what the average is, and they said $40 right now.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And in this handout, I have current water rate comparisons. I did update PWSD's rates. They had an increase in September. And this is based on 3,000 gallons. So if you use 3,000 gallons, which is what I use, and my bill is about $50 now. So if I were on Missouri American, and I did a 3/4 inch meter. Last night Missouri American said they do 5/8 inch meter, which are cheaper. But if I had a 3/4 inch meter, it was under Missouri American, using $3,000 right now, my bill would be $38.74. Ozarks Clean Water, these are numbers I got from them several months ago. And they have like Kimberling Shopping Center and Acres Point in that area. This is residential only, not business, but their water rate for 3,000 gallons is $55.62. Now, I will say on Turner Water, I had a little mistake in this the last time I gave this presentation. I think it's a few dollars less than what I have here. And I reached out today, waited to the last minute, of course, so I did get an update. But I would say that for 3,000 gallons, Turner Water is about, I'd say, let's say $32. $31.50. 13. $31.13. So, yes, and they base their rate on 5,000. It's a 5,000 gallon minimum. But they also have like maintenance, a meter assessment, and streetlight fee that they all pay. But their bill is pretty low in Turner. And Turner's water system is, they have a, what'd you say, 5% leak rate? Less than 5%. So Turner's a pretty good water system.
system?
I think when I met with Turner, they said that as stuff needed replaced, they made sure they had the money to replace it, and just, that's what they did. So their water system's pretty good right now. And with Turner, for Turner to dissolve and be taken over by Missouri American according to their bylaws, if one person votes no, it won't happen. So, again, it's going to be up to the residents. Yes,
In your chart here, the PWSD number 1 includes the rate increase that just happened a month ago.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
They mentioned pump station. Now, are the pump stations gonna be built on the lake, taking lake water, or are they gonna be built up high? I don't know, so I'm just asking, is the water coming from the lake at any time?
Water is not coming from the lake at all.
Thank you.
Yeah. The Corps would be on our case.
Yeah.
H2 Ozarks would be on our case.
I'd be knocking on your door.
Yes. So no, we do not, none of the water is supplied by any Yeah, Turner will be taken.
Dawn, can you repeat what she's saying, because we can't hear the questions back here?
If they don't agree, if all the districts don't agree, can this still go forward if maybe some of them agree?
We will move forward with what we can. It would be nice, like I said, it's difficult when you are working, you can't really have consistency when you have different water districts under different jurisdictions. So for consistency purposes, it would be great. Also for development purposes, like if there is a development that needs to be supplied by a water district that can't supply it, this water district can, but they have to go through this water district to supply it, that can't happen. So those are things that are challenges when you don't have consolidated water district. Yes, Jerry?
Don, I'm a customer of PWSD number 1. On Memorial Day, we ran out of water. We had no water. Last Thursday, second time this year, we ran out of water. So the question I ask myself, I've lived here 8 years, I've been coming to this same house since the 80s. Who do you have a better chance of fixing infrastructure, getting fire flow? Is it gonna be someone that knows what they're doing, or volunteers? And I did sit on that board for 3 months. Someone asked me to go and run for that board again. There's no way I'll do it. It can't be run by citizens, volunteers. It's beyond that. The system's over 50 years old. It's time for a change. We've got to start making a change.
Okay. So I think we probably have covered the rest of my slides by just the questions, but, so just, hang on just 1 second. I'll piggyback on what Jerry said. It's time, as a city, it's time to move forward. We need a water tower, trunk lines down 13. We have got to replace aging infrastructure at our houses, the water that goes to our houses. We've got to do it. We need someone that the city can partner with as far as working together to decide what needs to be done for the city. What infrastructure needs do we have on an annual basis, planning 5 years in advance at a minimum. You can't plan just year to year, you have to look into the future. And I mean, when you look into the future and plan 5 years, yeah, something might change year to year, but at least you know where you're going. And that is what we have to have. Again, we don't have jurisdiction, but it's a concern for the city. Yes, we care about our residents, and we feel like this is a concern for residents. Do we want economic development? Of course we do. But it's a concern for our residents too, especially the lack of fire flow. I think that's pretty much all. We've covered everything else. So yes.
Thank you for letting us talk a little bit to you and talk at you a little bit and not be, nobody's being mean, I don't think. We're all just concerned.
No.
We appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Well, I appreciate y'all being here. Like our main thing as a city, I want to, as a mayor, to provide the best customer service that we can for the citizens. And I get enough calls, or our clerk out there who takes care of our billing and everything else, gets calls every day about water, not having water, not having this, and all these little issues that's up there. And I do direct them to who they need to be directed to. I told Gail, I says, Gail, here's the number. Give them PSWD one, because it's the majority of it is something's over the other side of the road. And I too lived there for 40 years on Ridgetop Drive, right off the skyline. And it was funny, when I moved here from Illinois 44 years ago, I was in my house for about 2 weeks. I worked for Cox Health as a therapist, and I was getting in the shower, my shower stopped, and I went outside, and I told my wife, I said, something happened. I called the water company, and I said, I have to go to the hospital. I have to do this here. And they told me if I wanted water, to get in my car and drive down the hill, and who's ever watering their land, their grass, or this here, tell them to shut it off so you can finish your shower. I have never, in my entire, this was, like I said, 40-some odd years ago, and I thought, I never heard that I have to go down the road and tell people to shut the water off so I can take a shower. Unfortunately, it came out because our son was about 2 years old at the time. And I just didn't believe that. I thought, oh my gosh, and so my wife said, well, that's what you wanted to move to the country. I never considered Kimberling City a country, part of the country, because, but, and so there was some issues for a number of years. And it was, things was going well and everything too, everything grows. Like today, Dawn and I drove around Kimberling City. As of today, we have 9 houses being built inside our city limits. So we're growing. And I don't know if you all see, you see what happened down at the shopping center. We're going to have condominiums. Some people are happy, some people through, but we can't stop development when a developer comes in. But we're going to have 44 units of condominiums by Kimberling Crossing that's going to be going in there. And they're very interested in hooking up to water to take care of their 4-story buildings are going to be, which is not going to block anybody's view of the lake or anything else, by the way. So there's stuff that's happening. If you go down the road here, right across from the Catholic Church, there's development happening there. We're going to have about, I think, 10 duplexes being built there, 20 homes going in there. They're going to be rentals. So that's going to be done. So the guy had to get DNR information, and we had to make sure they had enough water and everything else, but we're growing. And people have asked me a number of times, well, but we don't want to be St. Louis, we don't want to be St. Joe, that's not going to happen. When I moved here, the population was about 400 less than what it is now. That was 44 years ago. We may get over 5,000, maybe 5,100 or something like that in the future, but we're never going to be a large city here. I haven't seen the growth in the 44 years that I've lived here.
We have some questions.
So, anyways, that's what I just want to say. We're trying to do the best that we think is good for the citizens, and hopefully we do, and it all comes out.
Okay, Ginger.
As far as our current situation of fire flow, or how many hydrants are operational?
We have 0 operational hydrants. The only hydrants that we actually have are in the Missouri American District. I think we have some flushing hydrants.
That's probably what they're being used for now, is flush hydrants.
Okay, in other.
Fire trucks are not able to receive infrastructure.
Absolutely not. They have to go get water from Prince and West or the lake.
You can fill a small tanker out of one of the flush valves, but not for very long.
Right. Okay, David.
What was the timeline on the engineering study, or whatever you said?
We're hoping that the board approves it November 5th, and the engineer will start immediately, and they're estimating 6 months, so that would be May. Yes?
I had one question. In your presentation, you talked about development being stagnant. You said it multiple times in this presentation, as well as past. About a year or so ago, we had Proposition PD, and the reason why we needed the extra money for law enforcement was because we're experiencing unprecedented growth. The mayor just pointed out an immense amount of growth that we haven't seen in many, many years. But yet, in your presentation, it says we're stagnant. We are growing. We're growing at, percentage-wise, a fairly good clip currently. So really, the water issue, although it is an issue, is not preventing growth to the point of being stagnant. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't agree. We are seeing growth in
The other developers have come in here to develop. And the first thing they wanted to know is if we can provide water. And no, we can't. And they went up to PSWD, one even had asked, and go, they could provide the water. You know, so, yeah, we are. And that's why, like, the development that's happening at Kimberling Crossing, they're very interested to get, because they don't want issues down there. So, but yeah, there is things. These things are happening throughout the city, but other bigger developers are coming in. There's a developer out of Colorado that wants to build basically like a Branson Landing by Harder House, possibly. So we're talking everything else. But what are they gonna do for water down there? You know, if they build, they're interested in putting in retail, plus, you know, making it look like Branson Landing, 3-4 stories high, with condominiums or apartment complex. So these things are happening, but they're, right now, it's on a hold type pattern until they hear back what's happening to us. But every developer we talk to, the first thing they ask for is water.
And I will, hang on just a second, Karina. I will give you an example of the Cove Resort that is very dilapidated around Big Buoys. We are doing our code compliance efforts. We have been working with them. Yes, they did get a letter stating you're not complying with city code. They have a well problem, and I've heard many, many complaints about the water at Big Buoys. But in speaking with the developer, it will be very costly for him to build a new well. He would love to be on the timeline of getting that redeveloped when we have trunk lines down 13.
Yeah.
So he can hook into to water. So it is stagnating development without having centralized
Because he
water.
wants to put in a high-end resort like it across the bridge, but he doesn't have the water resource. And he's gonna look at spending $12 million for Big Buoys as average development, but he's holding off because he said we met with him a month or so ago, because he's very interested in centralized water before he tears everything down there and starts building.
So Karina,
So, just to get, it's a little bit off topic, but to address what Jason said about the Proposition PD, I attended several meetings as well as you did. That that sales tax increase was stated many times. It was in anticipation of growth, that it was not to address the current growth going on right now. So that is a little bit of misrepresenting how that proposition was presented. The other thing is, I do want you to go back, because I was in the meeting at the PWSD when the owner of the golf course
yes.
And had her engineer there to speak about what their development was gonna look like. It was gonna be single-family homes, and it was I think it was 43 to 46. So can you address that again?
Yes.
And what was stated, and if you don't feel comfortable doing it, I will state it, but what the response was from PWSD about that development.
Okay, so the golf course developer would like to build 43 homes and then also a multifamily apartment complex that's closer there to the pond. They got rezoning for it, they're zoned properly. They went to PWSD meeting and to be able to talk about water supply, and PWSD is not able to supply water to more than 6 homes, 4 to 6 homes, single-family homes. And like I said earlier, when you're building a large development like that, you have to make it cost-effective, so you can't just build 6 homes and be able to start recouping your costs. You need to build out. They also said that at the time, they were told they can't build a well because it was too close to the current well at PWSD, that PWSD has. I don't know how accurate that is. That's just what the developer told us. Also, again, like I said, the cost of building a well. Go ahead, Karina.
So as far as that was a presentation at the PWSD meeting. They were actually asked if they could build their own infrastructure as far as a developer that would then be either taken over or they would operate their own water system. When they were told they could only supply 4 to 6 homes, 2 months later, About 2 months later, there's a for sale sign up on that property. So it is 100% a huge hindrance to the development. I live in that neighborhood, and no matter what anybody thinks, whether it's apartments, whether it's single family homes, having that land developed is going to increase our land values, 100%.
Yes.
She's got this.
I just wanted to make a statement.
Sure.
Almost 2 months.
I was on the Economic Development Committee 10 years ago, when we had this whole discussion last time. With and worked on the water studies. And now I'm here 10 years later, because we were not able to move anything forward there. And we didn't have the opportunity back then either of what considered the American is offering. I don't wanna come back in 10 years and we're still at that same point. I wanna see something moving forward. This is, it's extremely frustrating to see we lived here for 25 years and all we have done is go backward with development because we can't get the water. We've gotta do this.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, Kate, I told, this came up, I said, I want to see this here before I'm 6 feet up. You know, so.
They're dropping like flies.
Yeah.
Also,